see what's happening, how it's set in this department. And most of the things that were brought up, I can see the problem is lack of communication. And the reason why lack of communication normally comes up is because the data that we have is either depreciated or obsolete, meaning it's outdated.
I am saying that we're heading here. If you want to substitute these local bricks with the mushrooms, that the cost itself will be balanced. Because this one will be at the left where Namibia is there to start doing those ones. Yeah, that's the comment that I'm making is that now when you see the bank are saying that they don't have money to fund the lower affordable houses, and the government does not have money. So it just is to the rent. Every bucket is out there, you can see what it is. Okay.
Good afternoon, Mr. Deputy Minister. So I'm very comfortable sitting with people at the political level whom I know, people at the technical level whom I also know, and also the audience whom I know. My name is Man Chiwino. I'm a retired citizen now, but I left some work on my table which I could not fulfill. So I decided just to come to this after I came back. So please, and the chairperson also, I know her very well from the bank. So I'm very more comfortable. I'm not invited to speak, but I just want to share light into the provision of a solution for affordable housing. I follow my case, the case of Mr. I came up with a solution some years ago. My documents are with the Ministry of Housing, I can attest it now. They are with the City of Window, they are with the NHE. We put up a presentation where we just also put up solutions for affordable housing with affordable solutions. We did our research. We also went to answer some questions on some of the efforts we have put in. We have put up a ready to own for some people who are really cannot afford. We have put up, when people in this can say, give us this piece of land. We will build houses. We have secured funding from foreign direct investment, which are lying there and waiting and saying, look, we have appetite funds what we have put in place. So this is some of the efforts we have done. Our technology, we have presented it to Nelao some years back, I think it was 2019, and they appreciated it. Carrier Town Council have given us a land where we can put up effectively to manufacture this affordable housing solution in 10 years. Because currently now, for some of the solar projects, we get from South Africa. Because they are accepted there, they are building houses for the RDP and all these other things. So we heard about the opportunity for solar village. We position ourselves. I think we have heard some business that we can buy something there, put something which will be something resembling our technology. I hope maybe the colleagues might take it along with her. So I will talk to the guys from August. August. Yes. And because I know I have met him in Cape Town, we talk. I also need to mention our colleague from All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. So we must all right. The solution is free. If you want invitation, to present, I'm ready to go. Very good. Very good.
My name is Joseph. I'm a founder of Yolini Network Marketing. I would like to say something.
Please go ahead.
At first, I want to quote on a point that Master Muna said. He's like encouraging people that are building things. I personally am against that point. Because here, let me say our point for today is to make house affordable. At least everyone should own a land where he or he can build a house or he can go his property. But on my side, you, let's say, owning a flat, you cannot expand, you cannot extend that. I'm against that point. And the other thing, what I want to say is here, if we are like to tell the truth, the municipality or maybe the town council ask companies we do have just most of the companies have enough money to construct house, to make house available. But the land itself is just not available. You are applying, but no. You are applying, it takes 6 months to get that answer. As a council or municipality, they need to make sure this land available for people that have money to construct house.
It's quite challenging when we have such engagement, and my friends on the other side, the honorable ministers, are here to take notes that 4 years ago the same discussions was always on the table. But all these nice things has to do with the political will. Someone, somewhere, should go into parliament and speak these things. But unfortunately, those who have ideas do not have the political muscles to turn around these things. There was an important point that was made by Mr. Mungunda, especially where he mentioned that the bank lends you money of other people. Yes, that's unfortunately the bottleneck of life. But the people's money that the bank loan, for those who loan it out, deposit in the bank, earns less interest than those who went to borrow it. So that difference is the risk that the financial sectors are playing. But why does financial institution make it very possible for me to borrow 300,000 to get an LLB at the university, but not able to get a 300,000 to house myself? Because the biggest thing is, why would one be ready for 10 years but is unable to own a property? There was a good important point that was mentioned. We want to own heirs, but let's go back to Europe. Let's go back to Barcelona, where I went to study. They build flats in order, if government is able to build flats and don't give it to people like they do in the mass housing issues, let it out to residents. And after a certain period of years, like 5 years, you are paying rent. That property in 5 years could become yours. Those are models that can be created. And I would want to thank those that are trying to drive the solutions of housing. But it's all about the political will. Thank you.
My name is Simpson. Yeah, I think mine is more onto alternative building system. I do know that most of the banks, including my bank FNB, are on board in terms of accepting and financing for alternative houses or houses built of alternative material. But I think from my experience, it's really to do with uptake by the market, by the consumers. I see very low, or if not totally no uptake, no acceptance, but we call it from the consumer side. And that, I think, raised the whole acceptability of this alternative construction. Now, my question is, you as the advocate of this construction method, what effort are you putting in to educate the consumers out there so that it's acceptable? For me, just wanted to tell you one point that one was to interpret the market and not lead the market. So the information about valuation is really taken from the prices that the buyers have paid in the market. And we know in the past the market used to be more of seller's market, but now we have changed to buyer's market, meaning that the buyers have more control of the market in terms of negotiating of those prices. So we know also that in the past, buyers would be willing to pay more than what is even offered on the market, which for me does not make sense. Now, currently it's the opposite. So it's the right time now to actually control the market. Do not pay for more what is worth or what is priced for. And that way we'll be able to stabilize the prices of houses. Thank you.
For the comments that came forth. I probably have to just, as I said, I'm a very practical person. And I probably have to apologize to Jason and Alfreda and for Mark and Mr. Ndaka. Regarding the aspects of densification, we were quite very fortunate to be able to do an analysis for SONA. And when we do the analysis, is that the first investment that went to SONA was based on densification. And the land portions were quite cheap. But nobody responded to that. No one responded. And those land portions are also equally available as we speak now. It's aspects of preference of choice of what basically the general public is responding to. And it's something that is quite difficult to be able to measure. You cannot measure interest, the choice of interest. And I think from that perspective, yeah, it's clear. If you want to buy densified land, it's open in Asona. You can surely, and it's serviced land. It's already serviced, and I think now it's probably like 7 years that those dense land portions are available. And I think it's a change of mindset that we need to start educating, and rather to say that we are not really chasing for land. Densification is, we are running with it, but the preference, because we have a very rural population, and that's why we want those big plots. Yeah, on the other aspects on the urban issues, I think that the efforts are there. It's just that most of the time we always want to vent our frustrations in platforms like this. Even like the symposium of today, we have been discussing it with Jason and myself probably for those 3-4 years that we need to do a symposium. It's not like something that's happened through EN. I'm also part of a member of EN, but it's something that we always wanted to give back to the community some time back. So I think it's everything is in progress. There are good things coming out. I cannot really highlight everything, but I hope hopefully next year if we back again, I can share with you more exclusive data on what is really happening on the ground.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr.
Thank you very much, and let me just take this opportunity to also put a disclaimer on some of the issues that I might be saying. The aspect that I might have missed the previous discussions that started earlier, but I'm sure some of the things that I might say might be repetitive of what have already been said. So please just bear with me on that. There were aspects that were highlighted, and it goes to issues of the flexible land tenure. I think these are efforts of government in trying to bring about responsive strategies to provide tenure security to the poor, should I say, or the ones that cannot be able to afford. And I think still this is a project or regulation that is more into its infancy stages. And as we are going, we're learning through the whole process. And unfortunately, it is all under the Ministry of Agriculture, which has taken over the land aspect. And this was more targeted into the in-situ development of informal settlement, so that it becomes an incremental development aspect, and people can be provided with tenure security in terms of titles, and can be able to build on those land portions such that you don't need to chase them away. they can already stay there and develop from there, from an informal sector to a more formalized, upgradable development. I think that's the whole idea on the flexible renting. I'm not going to touch on the issue of the leasehold, and I think my brother touched on and how it all goes about. These are aspects that are within the Local Authorities Act, which definitely determine when the minister can be able to upgrade that specific town to a status of an urban area, from a settlement or to a town council or to a municipality, part one and part two. However, there are certain criteria that are set, one of which is population, one of which is economic development within that area, and definitely the growth pattern in terms of the trend of growth. And that speaks a lot to how the local authority must try to understand whether there is an economic circulation within a town such that it can sustain the residents, or the residents can be able to afford rates and taxes and all other services that are incumbent in the urban sector. There was a statement sometimes that I think a certain CEO said, and I'm sure it was not politically right. He mentioned to say, urban setup is not for the poor. And it definitely meant, it rose an uproar within the country. But that was the reality, and that's true. You cannot come in an urban setup and expect not to pay electricity, because electricity is a necessity within an urban setup. You cannot expect to come to an urban setup and expect not to pay rates and taxes, because the land where you are going to live on there's value added to it in terms of services that have been put in the ground. That's roads, sewer, water, electricity, and all the other things that you can mention. So it's definitely right for one to say urban setup is not necessarily that it's not for the poor, but it's not conditioned for those that cannot afford to live an urban life. There's a demonstration that we actually looked at in terms of how municipalities are squeezing each resident. And I think I want to make that statement very, very clear to everybody else. And I want to bear the sentiments of the minister, where he had mentioned to say, let's do more as young people. Let's go the extra mile, not only just to think, but to practically put things into perspective. Give proper examples, do proper research, come up with an understanding of what exactly it is, how does the process goes, so that you can be able to convince anybody else that is in power or anywhere else in authority to make such decision easier. Otherwise, we will be speculating and we will have a lot of ideas. There is a misconception about local authorities and how they operate. In terms of Section 30 of the Local Authorities Act, we have a myriad of services, including trading services and non-trading services that we offer to our clients. There probably are more than 15, some of which are more socially inclined. We don't get revenue out of it, but we have to provide that service. But unfortunately, local authorities are squeezed as well. They are so squeezed in such a sense that we don't get financing that can actually go to infrastructure development, for infrastructure development to become more affordable to any other person. But we have to cross-subsidize. We have to charge you in Ludwigsdorf a little bit more extra so that we can be able to get the guys in Hakahana at least some service in terms of maybe giving them water because they can't afford. They are just there. The aspect is that you will be thinking in that line because you think we are squeezing. But let me take another aspect from the rents that have been created, which is a passionate aspect of mine. I speak from a local authority perspective, but I serve as a chairperson of the board of one of the rents. Electricity is part of the revenue commodities that we trade on as local authorities and legally mandated commodity in terms of the local authorities. However, REDs were created and that aspect was removed. There are two sides to this story. One, managed electricity very well as local authorities. The other one is that there was actually no regard to what was the impact that the removal of electricity was going to have on the revenue and operations of the local authorities. Now, because of the removal aspect and the historic placement for revenue aspect into that, we have to make means with where we can get the money to replace that specific portfolio of income. So, the only way we can do it is we need to look at the trading facilities or trading commodities for us to be able to get revenue. One of which is rates and taxes. So our rates and taxes will have to increase. We have no other option. Our water has to increase. Because we are buying these things from the suppliers, non-waters and non-powers. So this is the realities on the ground. So at the end of the day, it makes life in the urban area very expensive. So there definitely needs to be some structural adjustment to that effect. I think I wanted just to share some perspective on that.
All right.
There is one last thing that we spoke about, solar energy. Madam Bonda, I definitely want to agree with you. It's relative to whoever can afford it. It's not just a across the board thing. There is an introduction of a system that is coming in, being introduced by ECN, Electricity Control Board, ECB, and Power, and all the other role players, which is the MSP, Modified Single Buyer, allowing players within the electricity sector to set up facilities and then sell to anybody in the country or outside the country using the supply lines of manpower. And you can be in Swako and trade with somebody in consumer, and calculations can be done in order for you to get your revenue at the end of the day. And I think it's something that needs to be very, that needs to be interrogated by those that have not yet really been able to understand this. Approach ECB, go to them, Power, speak to them, and let's see what can come out from how we can be able to participate in the MSP. I think that's just a little contribution that I just need to share with the House. Thank you very much.
Sheila, the issues that you have raised are issues that we believe in, and you are preaching to the converted. And we were just focusing as you were speaking, and when you said your president is Brownie, we will invite you through Brownie. I think that presentation, as the Foreign Minister has said, prepare that presentation in a very short period. We will invite you to come and present the same information to our councillors, and in particular to our planning department, where these things that we have highlighted are really problematic for them delivery. We have recognized that, and it is true, it's hampering our progress as land delivery to deliver them, and to have as currently, maybe I should say, I don't know how the minister will take it, but currently in the city there is no approved township layouts to start servicing land. So, and the issues that we have highlighted are contributing to the non-availability of service land in the city. So prepare yourself, we will invite you. The other comments, we are here to participate and to find solutions together, and we will not be defensive because we know the delivery of land and construction of houses is very slow. The 400 houses that from the minister referred to, that was not the target. The target was 1,200 houses by June this year. We are behind, but we are trying our best with the available resources to deliver the target that we have set for ourselves. Thank you.
I just wanted to share some information when it comes to land delivery.
It is a complex issue sometimes. Some people, when they look at the land somewhere surrounding, for example, Singapore and other towns or municipal councils, some people might think it's just a vacant land there, unoccupied. The challenge is some of this land that you see surrounding the town areas are occupied by original people who were there before. Now what you need to do, you need manifest to pay compensation. And this compensation is very, very expensive. Very, very expensive. Let's move to the northern towns from Zambezi down up to Namibia. Those lands are occupied by our parents, the peasant people. Now, when you want them to give way for development, it's a process. You have to negotiate, and that negotiation will take time. And now they are also demanding in terms of the new policy, compensation policy. It's a process. That's why people are saying, no, land. Okay, it's true, you are correct. But these are some of the complexity issues that we found ourselves in. I just wanted to share some of this information.
Thank you so much.
I was talking about this step. The draft bill is there. We took it to the Attorney General office, they gave their inputs. They said, okay, let's proceed to Cabinet Committee on that and so on. But we realized later that the bill is there, but there are no regulations. So it's challenging when you pass a bill in Parliament, yet you don't have these regulations. So you have, when it passed there, you have to wait until the regulations are also finalized. Now, the ministry, what is doing is, hopefully by some weeks ago, or now, I don't know, because some of these things are dealt with by, other people, not you as a minister, because when I see everything, it's like minister. But you have structures in a given setup. So it's like they are busy procuring the consultant who deal with the regulations. So this is the progress I'm trying to look at. The gentleman there, I like your questions. I like it. You know, I was just making a joke. I said, I did not know that a lot of questions would be posed on me. I thought everyone is going to ask him or herself a question. But now that I'm running an institution, which is good, I have to respond to them. So the land urban policy, you said it's not there. Yes, we are already started by some programs. If you read Harambe Prosperity 2, I hope you have gone through personally that. Goal what? Can I also ask a question? Goal what? It's goal 2. Which page for the Harambe Prosperity 2? Page 46. Read there. The last paragraph. That is the instruction, and we are busy as a ministry trying to look at the reform, urban land reform. We are busy there, hence also we are busy with the national housing policy to adjust because things are not going the way our community wants. So this is the information I want to give you. Yeah, but what I'm always saying, sometimes I might say, because sometimes when you speak, your tongue might say something good, sometimes you become emotional, and then you say wrong things to people. And at the end of the day, things will not go the way you want. So what I'm encouraging is, I have seen a big number of young people here with a lot of skills and good mind. But I say, why can we not do this? Why can we not do this? Frankly speaking, what I would suggest is, can we also not reorganize ourselves? Frankly speaking, is very difficult. Monsieur was saying it's not money that wins, it's good mind. Can we not? Because the way you want to reorganize yourself is no political way of doing it. Don't do those things. Look at how you come up with something that will develop the country. This might be the development bank of Namibia, but maybe somebody will say, no, but those interests are too high. It's mine. You are saying that. Let's see how we organize. The skills you have, it's a lot. And the mind, it's a lot. So let's try. Let's try our level. You know what you say? You go in the radio, you listen. Yeah, the government is not doing what? But your skills there. Some people are, up to the age are going, but you are there to help, isn't it? It's true. You are there to help. Yes, come on. So, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I really want to look at, I must also apologize, I missed the presentation because I had a little commitment that I had to attend to. So if I'm out of line, you will excuse me. But I think that is the type of mindset that we need. I want to compliment the association for organizing this, and I think the emphasis is there that I think we need more of this engagement so that we can share ideas and bring them to the table. And I'm sure the minister will appreciate written inputs to his office. But what I wanted to say, in addition to what was just said, is one, it's the economic system or the capitalistic system that we have that is the first and the biggest problem. For example, my brother was talking about solar diesel. Yes, it is on the long term more profitable. But I don't know how much market they do on their production cost. Because they literally probably cutting already, making your profit, extending your period for you, recovering that. It is not affordable for the ordinary person to put in, because you need the capital now. I have just replaced 2 pieces in my house for solar. So what I'm saying is, it is not affordable for the ordinary person. So if we look into the cost aspect, if we can share the responsibility, but we want to maximize our profit, and then the next person starts. So that pricing of the tower, I am from the housing sector, from banking, and from private sector, and joint politics. So I'm not a newcomer in this industry. So I'm talking out of experience. So what I'm saying is, if we can share, redistribute the income. We talk about drying out from the municipality. We have not addressed the bank that makes millions out of us. So we need to address the system in itself. And the private sector that everybody talks about is so exclusive, does not even implement the policies of government for that matter. So, for example, the other day, the BPM Shadow Minister of Finance was saying 8% banking loans. And I was asking, is there anybody here that gets a bank loan for 8%? Anybody? No, it's exclusive for certain people. So those are the principal things I want to add that we need to address so that we complement government efforts in leveling the playing field. Thank you. Thank you so much. Maybe that's the last one, but I also want to say, for example, with cost of funds, because your loans get so expensive. Cost of funds, normally now, in olden days, you used to draw interest from your deposit account or your current account if you have a credit. You don't get that anymore. So, the banks are literally drying out like the tower, not the municipality only. All right. Thank you so much, Honorable. Honorable Tuli.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I'm enjoying this discussion.
Very much.
Very, very much. Because it's educating some of us. Because sometimes you are in the office, you think you know better. But you are 80% behind knowledge. 50, I don't know. But thank you very much. And I think, state of window, you learn a lot from here. And from here, you are going to sit around and then reorganize yourself. You hear what people are saying. It's not that they are blaming you, they want you to do a kind of reform. Isn't it? Rashida, I like your presentation. I hope we will get that information. Summarize, don't bring a big book. It's like 2 minutes. And I hope there's somebody who's taking those summarized minutes. Don't live like this. Things are 2 minutes. Okay, land control report. It's progressing, but sometimes it's when you think things should go fast the way you think, it's not the way the actual implementation will take. Because that.
Good morning, thank you very much. I'm Ishmael Wangara, and I just have a few points to it. I feel that in reality there is no reason why we should not deliver land or housing in Namibia. For instance, if you look at apartheid in Namibia and present day in Namibia, you realize that housemates could have houses, garden men could have houses. So in real sense, there's no issue or real reason why we should not deliver land. Secondly, I think that the policies in place are set to frustrate and delay the whole delivery process. And thirdly, also, the materials that are used, though we have so much, you look at the hormones and cheetah, they all come from Namibia, but yet they are so expensive. I'm sorry for my voice. And then you look at things like other materials that we could use. If you look at neighboring countries, they're using materials such as plastic mixed with soil. It makes long enduring houses. Bottles are being converted into brick material. We could eradicate the issue of swamp and vulnerable when these box houses are burning. That plastic is resisting heat or combustion. So if you look into new methods of building and we move from the old methodologies to reform. I think the last aspect also that I would like to highlight is the point, the solar system that was emphasized by the gentleman earlier. If we could, for instance, in my village we've installed solar panels. If every individual or every second or third person can do that, that energy could be sold back to the city. And then if it's sold to the city, that means I'll be making some money to encourage cleaner energy since most of our energy is being imported. So this is what I'm submitting. Let us look into new and better systems of providing services. Let us move from the old systems because clearly they are not effective. Perhaps the individuals that are supposed to be representing us are really removing huge chunks of our lives. Why are people preferring to buy these things from China as opposed from Namibia, but we have the minds? Just think of that and let it prompt something within us, because people are close enough.
Yes,
so
we will come to the alternative building. Eventually is ready for that discussion in the afternoon.
Yeah, so thank you very much, and please let's look into the essence of the things that really matter most. Why are the essentials being overlooked, and why are we focusing on just systems and principles as opposed to the things that affect people in building houses? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I wanted to provide an additional context in terms of the flexible tenant scheme, in terms of the numbers, that you indicated there, with respect to 7,000 people that will be taken out in terms of security of tenure. But also, I think, as part of this symposium with respect to housing, there's always the discussion between land and housing. And I think sometimes we need to ask ourselves that, is land delivery equitable to housing delivery? And I think sometimes we need to deepen that discussion, because that discussion is not taken adequately. Because in this country, every time we talk about land delivery, the presumption is that
is housing delivery. And I think to the CEO of Ochiwarongo is here. I think I passed by through Ochiwarongo now and then. I think Ochiwarongo has grown beyond. And that growth beyond is because we're chasing housing delivery at the pretense of land delivery. We're making the poor live further and further away, when in the actual fact, it's a policy matter with respect to densification. And that is to say that must everyone, does it mean to have a house, you must have a piece of land with 300 square meters. Because here in Europe, we've moved from that context. Because people are understanding that to create smart cities, to create cities that work, or towns that work, people must live closer and closer. And I think it's as one of the aspects, I think, with the CEO, as well as the president of the association, I think it's a matter that I would want to give opinion as well as Mr. Kilowatt. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
Reform or give a special attention to local governance. And that's why when it comes to the issue that has to do with policy, more specifically housing or local government, they've been ignored. And you would agree with me that all these issues emanates from the absence of a standardized urbanization policy or the approach thereof. As an expert, this country does not have an urban policy. So you would then see city of Wheeling doing what they want to do, but you are not doing what they want to do. Now, if you want to talk about smart city, they must be defined from somewhere. So how you then as an expert, because we said we must join hands, you as an institute, including key role players in urban planning, with the minister, how best can we pull together in such a way that this country at least has a draft urbanization policy? The city of Windhoek is under pressure every day. Because Namibia has, whether we like it or not, is urbanizing. But there is no proactive programs or strategies to make sure that we do not have negative impact subsequent to uncontrolled urbanization. And you have seen, there are a lot of irresponsible statements being made by politicians, more specifically when it comes to people having informal activities, the checks and all those things. And this is as a result of our irresponsible absence of setting up proactive programs. How are we going to put in that or pull in that same direction to at least save this country? Otherwise, we'll take another 12 years.
My name is Andy Bushulu. I'm a building designer. For second page is my name and the type of work. I asked a lot of questions for highly professional people. I was in South Africa 12 or 10 years ago. They invited me. 98 international companies, down to 19. 2 weeks ago, I get a call. Mr. Sudan, all that houses is vanished. Only the two say to them we are going. That will be a very good report for you to tell the people that are sitting behind the smoke screen. Namibians is the best in construction. Yes, I agree with you. I like also what you said. There are some ways. Go to the municipality to make a joint venture agreement to cut out that quota. It is the best way to do it. But there's something that I've done very good. Every house that I build, I have a book of life to give you the value of that house. Who was an engineer, an architect, you name it, and it's in them. I get my numbers are going on. That's what I'm calling the Namibian building system. Yes, I have designed a financial model too for the poor, because the poor didn't fit in financial number one. It's not being designed for them. They don't know how to do that. But if can have a debate with you, one-on-one, over financial model 2 with him, let me talk about it. It's time that you are taking care for the people. Minister, just give me 1 minute, man. 1 minute. Only 1 minute, man. Why? Where's the whites? Where's the guys that are sitting behind financial model 1? They are not here. I need to for them. I don't see white people in Namibia. You go into the street, there's no one, it's only black people. That few sit behind the screen. If we're not going to stand together, there's no way you can keep. Our people can fight poverty. Talk to the municipality. It was been handled better in the days of apartheid. I'm telling you, I know there are people who were there. Why is everything been changed? Scratch that part from conveyance and start a new. We can do better in legal terms to bring the laws in. Better than the days of. I know there were some good laws in the days of apartheid. We can do it better. We say,
right.
we're not going to work together, blue. We'll talk like you get blue in your face, you will never get me now. I'm not saying moment.
I believe you will have during lunchtime. During lunchtime, because we need to give us.
As well as private finance advisory network, which is eager to finance all kinds of sustainable solutions. Now, it's not because I'm so convinced about myself, but now everyone must look at me. This is how municipalities in Namibia are treating their citizens. And when not enough water is coming anymore, they squeeze harder. And when no more water is at all coming anymore, they squeeze even harder. And then no water is coming over anymore, then we're all bankrupt. So, since we were trying to discuss solutions on municipal levels, I would like to propose some. The first one is, I would like all municipalities, especially the city of Hindu, because I'm living there, but also all others, to start putting public communal finances from the head to the toes, the other way around. So instead of trying to get something more out, start to put money into the pockets of your citizens. Because the more money your citizens have, the more money they will be able to give you. Pay for municipal services, pay for airfare and everything else. So how can that be done? Namibia is exporting 2.6 billion every year. That is 2,600 million for electricity. The general market of electricity is 4.4 billion, out of which 2.6 roughly, or maybe on a couple of millions, doesn't matter, are being exported to South Africa. I would like all municipalities, and especially the city of Hindu, to encourage their citizens to harvest that 2.6 billion every year. Now, the liquid fuel market is 16 billion, 16 billion, that is 16,000 million. If we can only replace half of our transport with solar-powered, decentralized electric vehicles. By the way, if somebody is interested in my electrical vehicle is standing outside here, prepared to show everybody. If you would do that, then you would not only have 2.6, but altogether around about 10 billion circulating among Namibians. And that would be disposable income. That would be money that can circulate, that can be paid to municipalities, that can be used for building, that can be used for all kind of other services. So Namibia is not a poor country. We're just putting our priorities for. And one more point for municipalities. Normally municipalities have 3 or 4 sources of income. The first one is electricity, the second one is water, then is sale of carbon, and then is rates and taxes. Right? Or do we have anything else? So electricity is come to an end because you cannot increase the prices further. If you do that, we will go out of the grid. We will tell you, get lost. We can supply ourselves with solar energy much cheaper than you can give us your grid electricity. Water is a critical issue because it's a human right. No water, no life. Yeah. Sale of carbon is limited because we cannot increase the prices. And rates and taxes are also a problem. So what we need, I'm finishing now, 30 seconds. What we need is a reform of our tax system so that the portion of the money that is paid as income tax in your particular region, Karlsberg and Osakati and all over, is remaining in your municipalities. And a portion of the VAT must remain in your municipality so that municipalities have money to provide their services. Thank you. All right. My question goes to the minister. When will he table the rent control board
which is submitted to him, to the panels that's going to be debated. So the second one is the innovation of what has been spoken about in San Francisco in terms of policy area. So, literally, from an extrasensory perception, I see that we would not progress into these price projects needing with these policy aspects. He addressed everything related to regulation aspect. So that is, thank you.
Thank you so much.
A question. Why is it that when it comes to Namibia, in the past we had a town and currently becomes a village council? And when it becomes a village council, why is that village of that plot not funded by the institution? Number one. Number two, banking institutions make things sound easy, but it's so difficult when we approach them. Because when you want to purchase, for instance, a house, suddenly there's debt. Why is it?
Can you repeat that? They suddenly dead?
Nobody is understanding each other. You come to someone by a plot, they look at the paycheck and say you cannot afford it. When it comes to towns in regional and all these places, why is our geographical area always in squares? You have a big area, that's in Carlsbad, but where you stay, you're staying in a window. That plot is so small, it's only you can't afford it. Thank you.
I think we need to be basic because we are finding that even with both together banks and with municipal accounts, there's interest on arrears on interest. How much of that 1 billion is real cost and how much of it is interest? I think we need to revisit that to see how we can actually help the lower income not to be devastated by the accounts that are resting on their shoulders.
Thank you so much.
About alternative materials or whatever it is. I think that is the focus that we want to look at. Because if we want to talk about affordability, let us look at the materials we use, because it's the materials that push up the price high.
Yes. What is this now?
So, Honorable Minister, I think the rest of the two on the legislation will be discussed after the break, and then the alternatives will be discussed in detail in the afternoon session.
Should I end up here?
So I think for now, Honorable Minister has responded adequately to
affordability. I would like to emphasize that affordability is quite subjective, but I guess for context and for the purpose of today's discussion, we need to look at affordability as houses priced below 500,000. So I'm in agreement.
All right, thank you. Franz, Jason?
I don't think any question was really pointed to me. I think we're just leading a good way with the robust questions. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I did not know that I would be the target today. I thought people come on to the bring no ideas. I'm there, maybe I'm stuck. And it's you to bring your ideas. But it's good that you are raising questions, because questions is what made us to formulate something new. There was a question of about municipalities who are making land as their properties in terms of generating income, and they make it so expensive, if I understand the question very well. And the question, then the follow-up one was that why Minister of Finance cannot just finance debt? Yes, and this is what we are busy with, reviewing the national housing policy. Because when we look at the statistic compared to other countries, is that the percentage of resources to housing is very low. It's a 0.1 something. Compared to other countries, 0.5, 0.6, or 1 point something. This is what we are busy with. Yeah, the municipality is true. At the current moment, they do that for them to survive. Because you have employed people there. Now, when you employ people, yet you are receiving little from central government, and these are the people, the skills that you want. You really try to make sure that you pay something to attract them and then you keep them there. Yeah, but this is what we are trying to address. Now all of us, as we have come here, let's see if we should come out with something that will address this challenge. Yeah, the financing or the subsidy from central government is not adequate. And we have to look at it. I don't know whether there was somebody here who attended the National Housing Policy conference that we organized here. Yes, I hope you learned a lot, and I think you are going to share with us more what you came up with, because I left before you finished. Thank you. Yeah, I understand the question and I agree with you. Yeah, the materials, alternative materials. And I think it's very, very important. I also wanted to mention this one in my statement. But why can we not maybe organize ourselves as a society, as a country? Maybe to come up, and this is the question I started with. I said, is it really difficult for us to organize ourselves? Yes, I might say this, but somebody with different thinking will say, but Antonio is just saying this. But maybe he's a little bit far, he does not understand how things work. It's true. I might not need to know everything. I might only need to know that little. I'm of the opinion that if we come up with a factory here that will produce materials that we need, I hope we'll be able to help and then to reduce the price, because we have zinc here, isn't it? Yes. And zinc, I don't know. Okay, it's being supplied here. We are buying it from the shops. But I used to see some countries, if you go to some towns, you see them having big machines. And they are just supplied with a roll of a sheet to make zinc. And I don't know whether we have such a factory here. Maybe if somebody has got information, we have that in Namibia. He can help the house. So I'm trying to look at, can we not come up with something? Get money from the bank, get money here, and then we come up with a factory, and then we look at how we should produce the materials.
But there's one thing I want to say to you. When I studied the books, on that page of that book, page 57, 1957, 27 of June in Johannesburg, Soweto. The architect of a party, don't want to mention that name, I'm not a politician. Ever said this is built together. It's still today in an independent country. Can we scratch that from the road? The other one that I want to mention on top of that, because I think there will be another chance to say more about it. The lawyers that do housing deeds office. Can we scratch that from the road? Guys of the apartheid have bring that law and make it so difficult for our legal advisors that there's something that you don't know what to talk. People are losing their houses. For no reason. There's one legal company that got 80% for their deed of sale from Venetian lawyers. How does it happen? What are we going to do about it? There is the benefit of our people we talk about.
All right.
I want to be, 1 minute, the ambassador for the poorest of the poor, for those people that cannot talk for themselves. What can we take home from this, Honorable Minister? I mean, I know you sit in one of the hottest seats in the Parliament. It's a hot seat you sit in.
Yeah. I believe we
Is there
will have.
another
Yes,
chance when they come back?
Yes,
Don't clap hands. No, I'm not finished yet. I didn't start yet. I have one more.
Okay, we'll get an opportunity later. So those are the last two. Thank you so much. Okay.
All I say, good morning once again. Jason, Honorable Rasmus, and Franz, and Anna, thank you for a platform like this. And I hope you can also.
All right, can we get to the question, please?
Thank you. The only question now is that why is the bottlenecks when it comes to our what you call it, the executions of our laws? Why is there always the bottlenecks? I remember when energy came under the government as parastatal, and everybody could own houses. What happened with it? Suddenly, it started signing tariff. We don't know what happened.
All right.
But why is there bottlenecks when it comes to our laws and our regulations? Why is it? Well, what's stopping us? And where is the money?
I believe that question of the bottlenecks we will deal with it after every session where we are looking at the regulatory challenges. Thank you. That's the final question.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm an architect and urban designer and practice housing stuff and so on. And I was thinking, we all have goodwill. We all have the money there, so the land is there. Everything is there. So I was thinking of where is the bottleneck, as speaking about where's the problem. And I've come to the conclusion there is actually two problems. The one is the town planning scheme. The town planning scheme is preventing a lot of development. And local authorities and municipalities and everybody, they stick to that document as though that's the law, a solid framework. But it is a apartheid law. We need to change the town planning scheme. The town planning scheme has been also the one document which is being applied to all settlements. One document. But we have Stockholm, which has a different climate than we do. We have different climates in country myself. So that document needs to be adjusted. The other problem is town planning. I have a very big problem with our town planning ways and means how I do things. They still originate from the apartheid. They still originate from apartheid planning ideology, meaning separating of spaces, separating the idea of separating things. It's not, now they took out the color, but they still kept the whole separation of facilities, of uses, of, everything.
Let us look at the entire package of housing, hunger and economic empowerment. Yes, we can do it.
All right, thank you so much. I saw here two more hands, and then after that, we have to conclude. And I ask the panel members. The far one here, and then we'll be waiting. So then we are done. Why are we doing the line? Because I'm not able to see. All right, but please let's limit it to 1 minute because they need to respond, and then our session is coming towards the end.
Okay, greetings everyone. My name is Lucas from the Institution of Social Development. Our institution is the only civic organization in this country that's implementing private and public sector on infrastructure development. With a record of to date, we have done project over 100 million at no cost, and project over 40 million at recovery basis. Shared Federation is also one of our beneficiaries that we render our services. And our institution is legally administered and run by town planner, land surveyor, architect, engineers. Now, having said that, giving a background of the institution I'm coming from, I only have few items I need to bring to FNB and as well to the Honorable. Now, number one item, when I look at the figure of FNB, the figures of the houses that they are referring to as affordability, it's again to that argument saying what affordability to use or affordability to do. Our definition of affordability is what the masses can actually afford. And as we look on the statistics, the affordability what the masses can afford is a houses of between 100,000, 400, at least maximum. Now, having said that, we are thinking of if financial institutions can come up with an incentive where they are going to fund those people who are going to concentrate on the ultra low cost housing. Because their rate seems that that's the same with the property developers who are also doing house for 1 million and so forth. If they can come around with a certain incentive as part of their annual corporate responsibility. Number two is just to say if they can also start funding houses. You know, we want to come up with a certain concept where you have a house which doesn't have a tiles, but you have a cement decking with no ceiling. Someone will be more happy to stay in a house with no ceiling than staying in a shop. And also look at the
Yeah. Yes. If we can round up the question.
Okay. And just the last one, as a colleague before here who mentioned about alternative building material. If they can also look at funding those some of the building materials. If you go to Habitat Center, the educational school, you'll find some of the materials. And just the last one to the Honorable. I would like to share with you just 9 key challenges why we have informal.
Can we deal with those 9 key challenges when we come to the challenges? The second session after the break will then be so that we can give opportunities to the others as well. Thank you so much. Thank you. I can't see here. The lights are dimmed. Can someone please? Yes, sir.
Comrade, talk about 400,000 houses backlog, with 70% the bottleneck. If somebody comes tomorrow, privatizing them, what do you do about it? What do you do about it if somebody will privatize the bottleneck? The books that my father left me ways ago, and talking now from a forensic structure point of view. Forensic structure is the etiquette of construction. A house needs a proper ceiling, the building element. And move out there is not a house for money health and safety, sure. Hospitals have been empty, the house has been built on construction sites. Which I know that Namibia still has mountains to climb to reach that peak of construction sites, which you don't have. You talk about housing, but you talk about cities. So, top structure. The bottom structure, you don't even mention something like that. I don't know how to do that.
That's the only source of income. Now, what is happening now in this country that we do not want to face, Honorable Minister, and I hope you will take this into cabinet. And after this symposium, we have to agree that in the absence of us as a state in financing local authorities who are the custodians of land river, we are going to have a problem in solving the housing crisis issue. It's not going to work. Now, the other issue that I'm very much interested with the work of Dr. Mule is alternative building materials. Alternative building materials, because for a bank to finance a housing unit, there are certain regulations that must be looked at. Now, we have what we call country, and most of you can agree with me. When you go to this way, Swakopmund, Lutherans, all over, those towns were built with countries. But today, because we have Fukeres, we have Oromo Cement, we have whoever, they have monopolized the construction industry to an extent. Country can build a house that stands over 200 years. The Southern Tribunal was built with concrete, but the bank will not approve those non-conventional building materials. Honorable Minister, you need to prove it.
All right. Hello.
conflict of interest there, and all protocol observed. Shelter is a basic human right. And I will salute Dr. Libertine Amatila, who started with the Build Together program when she was the Minister of Local Government. The people got ownership and dignity, but the municipal rates, they could not pay, and their water and the electricity were cut off. And Dr. Nikki Iyambo, when I was the minister, I was a former Minister of Women's Affairs and also from Ministry of Labor. Now, Dr. Nikki Iyambo, when he was the Minister of Local Government, we, the politicians from the South, I was leading with late Honorable Conjure. We brought the issue of the young people's houses who got the Build Together, that it was skyrocketed and they could not pay. And then Dr. Nikki Iyambo took it to the cabinet and the bills were written off. Now, we have a green scheme which is empowering our people. Now, I want to talk about the big package, referring to they got the houses but they cannot pay the bills. Now, at the green scheme, after the COVID, most of our people were working for the former advantage commercial green scheme people at the Arca region. I also have a little plot there. Now, next to my plot, they are squatting there because they don't have place to stay. They don't have place to stay. So these people in the municipality, I was coming up with our former governors and the regional councils, the urban whatever, and the local councils. They just don't help those people. Now, and also I'm unemployed, so take me as a consultant, those of you who will sponsor this one, so that I can work on that one. Okay, the other one is I would hereby suggest that we go an extra mile and empower our people with income generating projects. Let them benefit from the green schemes, the cooperatives, the fishing quotas, the mining rights, especially in the south, in the Karas, we have the mines and the diamonds, but our people, especially the women and the...
Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, Honorable Ministers. Good morning, Deputy Minister of Finance and Mrs. Nagaria. All protocol observed. I will fully agree with Honorable Minister Tony. I know you want to know my name, but I won't tell you my name. Let me just finish.
Okay, if we can get to the question, yes, because our time is very limited, yes, they still have to respond.
So I think what Minister said, and what we are looking here is the county. We are looking affordable housing. That is what we are looking. We have banks, we have federations, we also have unions, and we have GIPF. Then we have Orogo, we have Chita. I think we can make progress. I won't feed you like a kid. My name is Ali. My surname is Kambombe. I'm specialized in making bricks through Orogo. Colleague, let me support what the Minister said. We are looking for affordable housing. I know the bank, they are there to look for money, but can we look affordable? That is my submission.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, sir. And then, Honorable Madam Mukuta, this side, if you can also, while you're starting with this question, yes, sir, you can go ahead.
I will have to share some presentation. Hopefully the minister will be around throughout because you have provoked me. No, there are two things when it comes to land and housing. There is what we call vested interest when it comes to land. Municipality modify land, so they think land is the only source of income, and I think they are right. Secondly, banks as financial institutions commodify houses, and that's true. Now, the only problem we have is the political decisiveness when it comes to housing development. So you cannot tell me that we don't have land. That's pure typical, for one to say no, but I call it short. Because we entertain what we call political land banking. You go in municipalities, politicians, even they are not here as we are speaking, they make it so sound that it is part of investment, that a bulk of land tracts are being sold to investors. What do these people do? They do what we call political land banking. They sit on those pieces of land, and then suddenly transact it at a higher price. Now, when we talk about housing the poor in this country, some of these things must be discussed. Banks, as financial institutions in the housing value chain, have what we call social responsibility. They have never played that. Let's not like each other. Municipality, because there is no statutory funding. Municipality in this country cannot be funded. Unlike in South Africa and Botswana, where they export it. And I believe the Honorable Minister will stay here and discuss these things, because in terms of state.
How much disposable income does the person have, and how much would the person be expected to pay me back, so that they can pay them out. It's everything that is a very significant one. Now, City of Windhoek has written off 191 billion in revenue that they should have got for payment of municipal services. There's another 1 billion. 1 billion is 1,000 million outstanding, which most likely they will never get. Why is that so? It is so because after you buy a house, you have to pay the mortgage, you have to pay for food, transport, get your children to school, and you have to pay for water and electricity. Electricity is an ever-rising factor in your personal budget. Since about 15 years, we know that installing the solar water heater is at the end of the day cheaper than installing an electrical water heater. Because the running costs of the solar water heater are very, very small, and the savings are bigger than the installments that you have to pay for the grid. Since 15 years, I went to NHE, I went to the banks all over, and I said, why do you not make it compulsory that we can only install solar water heaters in Namibia? Because the sun will never send you inwards. When you go to the developers and say, listen, look at the economy of your clients, they say, no, I can't, because I'm competing with other developers. And if I put the capex, the investment cost higher, because the solar water heater is more expensive than an electrical water heater, then I will be competed out of the market. And that's why, Honorable Minister, we need two very important rules, and the same applies to anybody who has a role to play in the local authorities. The one is we must make it compulsory that only solar water heaters must be installed. No more electrical water heaters in the sector. If we do that, we have two effects. One is the The developers cannot say, no, I can't, because they have to. They cannot just get any building plan approved if there's no solar work nearby. That will level the ground for all the developers. It will also ease the burden for the later owners, because they do not have to pay those high costs anymore. It will also make it easier for municipalities, because now people have more money to pay for municipal services. The next one, and just for everybody's information, we are busy erecting a solar water factory in Walvis Bay. And we are just busy trying to put our things together. The other one is solar photovoltaic panels actually are watertight. I work with them since many, many decades. I can promise you there is not a drop of water that can go through a solar panel. So why do we not develop a roof construction where the solar panel directly is the roof? It's all there. When now an owner has a solar roof, or actually a part of the roof equipped with solar panels, that person could and should earn money on the energy that the sun provides to him, being able to provide his neighbors. For that, we need to revoke or rework the net metering rules, which are too detailed now to go into here. But I just would like to put it on your agenda. First, solar water heaters for all. Secondly, photovoltaic installed in a way that it serves the people and not only the investors. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much for that question.